Hi, I'm Susan Olsen from the Brady Bunch, and you're watching The Barn.
Hi, and welcome to the barn, live from the barn studio. You got the Mox here, and I'm joined online right now with Miss Susan Olsen, also known as Cindy Brady. Susan, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Good to be in the barn. That's
Yeah,
where I belong.
yeah, me too,
Yeah.
me too. It's named appropriately. We're really excited. You're coming into town, Collinsville, Illinois, which is pretty close to us, the St. Louis area, November 22nd through the 24th for Fan Fusion 2024 autograph show and fan convention at the DoubleTree. We're excited to have you in town.
Yeah, great. I'm excited to come out and see people.
Is
Get
that,
away from California.
yeah, yeah.
Be around the smart people.
Um, is that your way, attending these conventions and you really get to meet the fans on a personal level and tell, your fans tell you what Brady Bunch and everything that you've been a part of, what it really means to them and maybe some fond memories of some nostalgia kind of days. What does that mean to you as an artist and as an actress and just in general?
Well, it's really different. It's like I haven't pursued acting in 40 years. So like artistically it's sort of a mixed bag, but it's totally different. It's not meeting fans who watch something that you do who might have some input on what they like and what they don't like. It's more like meeting people that you grew up with. So instead it's much more human and personal, and it's much fonder than, like, say, if I was on a TV show. There's something sort of dehumanizing about being on that TV. You're part of the furniture, literally. And something so magical about growing up with people. And I've had people come up and say that the optimism of the show saved their lives. I grew up thinking, oh, no kid that comes from a bad household would ever want to watch our show. And I was completely wrong. Psychologists use the show because kids that came from just horrible situations, seeing another family that was doing well and that were happy, it actually gave them hope. It was really helpful, which was a big surprise to me. And I think that was the first time I felt genuine pride in being part of the show. And then there's people that, it was just what they did when they came home from school and they were doing their homework or whatever. And so it's just, you get to be a part of people's households and their lives. And as gosh, I've quoted him so many times. Sebastian Bach told me, he goes, dude, you're part of people's childhood, but you're a good part. How could that ever possibly be a bad thing? And it's like, no, it's not. How could it ever be bad? But I suppose if I wanted to continue as an actress, then the typecasting and all of that could have made it a bad thing. So I'm glad it was never a bad thing.
Two things from that. I love Sebastian Bach, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of truth in that, and maybe some of it is escapism, right? Or
Yeah.
maybe two people tuned in because you guys were the family that they wanted to have, and maybe did different have. And just for the record, I'm a therapist, so sometimes when there's a situation like that, I try to maybe look a little bit deeper than maybe even there really is. But I do think the popularity of it, there's a reason for that, and I'm sure it touched people in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. And I also think that people are a lot more psychic than they're given credit for. And I think everybody knew that the love that they saw between us all was genuine. It was felt between all the actors.
Have you noticed a shift? When you go out to these conventions and you meet the fans face to face, have you noticed a shift in the type of fans? I'm 43, so Brady Bunch was after me, but I watched it all throughout my childhood because of reruns and syndication and all those things. And you can find it anywhere these days. So have you seen a shift where it's a younger generation? You're like, I can't believe you even know who I am or you even know about the Brady Bunch.
Yes, I do. Although, okay, for me, I'm surprised that there are so many kids that don't know it. Like I teach kids, like children, elementary school age, and so many of them don't know the show. I go to the parents like, "What are you thinking? You have, you're passing up one of the best helps to being a parent." I mean, I wish I could have had my son watch Brady Bunch because it's a great way to get these little moral lessons into them. But and I began to realize how good the show was for that once I became a mother. But my son was like, "Oh, come on, mom." It was too weird to him to see me as a kid. And he looks just like my clone. And he knows the other cast members. So it was too weird to him. And now that he's 28, he actually wants to watch the show. But he wants me to watch it with his girlfriend and explain what was going on behind the scenes. But I mean, it's a great show to sit your kids in front of it, Clockwork Orange style if need be. Make them watch it. It's good for them.
Yeah. So again, I'm 43, so I was a 90s kid. So my role model was Bart Simpson, right? And he was sort of what not to do, right? So I'd have to sneak around, with my parents not in the room to watch Bart Simpson, where, something like Brady was just so wholesome.
Yeah, it's funny because at the time that it came out, we were the first show that had kids arguing, and so it wasn't thought of as wholesome, but it is now. And but it was also the last show that had a father who was not like Homer Simpson. I'm a big Simpsons fan, but we actually had a smart father who was there and had wisdom, and so to me, it just, yeah, it is the ideal family. And there's nothing wrong with that. It was written from a child's perspective of, wouldn't it be great to have a family where everybody is just up in arms over the fact that you lost your doll?
What do you remember, if anything, about being cast for that role?
Oh, I remember everything. It was the third day after my seventh birthday. We were celebrating it in Las Vegas, and we came home early so I could go on this audition because I wanted a series. I wanted to be a series regular and have a steady job. And so my agent called and said, this is a good enough opportunity. Maybe you should come back early. So we did, and I walked in to the first audition and said that it was 3 days after my birthday, and it was the creator, executive producer, and director of the first six episodes, and they all sang happy birthday to me, and I thought, oh, these are very nice people. And I remember we did not audition. None of us actually read script. We never had to prove our acting chops. We just had to be interesting kids. And I found out later that that was part of the genius of the show, was that Sherwood resisted the network, and Sherwood was the creator of the show. And the network said, we want fat kid, skinny kid, smart kid, dumb kid, yada, yada. And he said, no, I don't want any stereotypes. I'm not going to write character descriptions. I'm going to find 6 kids that are likable and interesting. So...
You hear a lot of, sort of scary stories about child actors and how that can go wrong in a lot of way. And it doesn't sound like you succumb to any of that. Your story's a little bit different, I would say.
Yeah, we had and I think I can speak for everyone. We had a very positive experience, and a lot of care was taken to make sure that everybody on the set was, they were family people, and that it was a very safe place to be. Of course, it's always going to be weird to be a kid in a grown-up world, but I wanted that. I don't think any of us kids were all that normal to begin with. But we had a positive experience. We all had each other to rely on. And but I was just thinking last night, I don't mean at all to discredit anybody who has horror stories to tell. And I think that the industry became a lot more of a predatory place for kids. And I'm stunned at the number of people that I grew up with that I used to see on auditions, fellow kid actors who had some bad things happen to them. So, I mean, Hollywood's a mixed bag, but for me, it was all great. I mean, we had the bonanza lot to play on. We, you can't top that. I used to be able to see the original cast members of Star Trek, and I could get Spock to smile and wave at me. It was a fantasy. It was wonderful.
I'm sure you get asked a lot, but have you maintained relationships with your with all your people, with your
Oh,
family?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the internet has helped a lot because we're all pretty lazy. I mean, we can text each other, we can email each other, and we don't even have to. Mike Lookinland's birthday is coming up. I'm sure I'll send him a text. But I mean, when we know that when we do get together, it's like no time has passed. So it's not like you have the compulsory Christmas card you got to get out to them. We just we're always connected.
Would you say you're probably in the minority in that? I mean, you hear a lot of people when they work together, they spend a lot of time together. And I know this was years ago for the most part, but they want to sort of distance themselves from maybe things that they were, most well known for. But you seem to embrace it. You seem to love that, hey, that's who I am, that's who I was, and that's part of my story.
Well, yeah, but it would have been different, though. I must say, it took me a while to wise up and realize I didn't want to be an actress. And until I was 23, it was very frustrating because there was the stereotype. I had gone to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. I studied Shakespeare. It's like, okay, it's time for me to be taken seriously. And, I did not get a warm reception for that. It was basically, look, you'll have a love boat career and you'll like it. And I realized something I should have realized a lot sooner, but I had always been an artist, and acting just isn't really my media. So if I were, like, I understand Eve Plum not wanting to do a lot of Brady things because, she is an actress, she pursues acting, and it has somewhat, stifled her career. None of us are ever going to know if it helped or hurt or which it did more of. But for me, I'm free from any of that. I can go ahead and embrace it, or I could not do it. I'm not. It's not compulsory.
You mentioned
But it's ever present. I'll never be able to, as Chris Knight says, he'll never outrun it. Peter Brady walks in the room about a minute before he does.
right, right. You mentioned being a teacher, and is it art that you teach? I know you're heavily involved in the art world.
Yes, it's I teach at a Academy for Performing Arts, and I teach an acting class and a filmmaking class for children. And I'm going to be starting a comedy workshop in the new year. So I'm actually going to go back to school and brush up on some skills. I'm going to take another course with the groundlings. It's going to be mostly sketch comedy. But I teach children. I don't really get into I don't want to teach adults because it gets too psychological. Acting is a child's game. It's playing pretend. It makes sense. And I had a good experience, and I want to see that other kids that might get into the business have a good experience too.
I work with kids in my profession as well, and I always say that it keeps me youthful.
Oh, it
Right?
does.
It,
Yes,
it,
absolutely.
it's almost you almost have to push back on growing old. Like it's easy to grow old. It's easy
Yeah. Mhm.
to sort of just kind of be in your own little world and that's it. But when I work with kids, they push my boundaries in ways that probably adults wouldn't. And
Yes,
it keeps me youthful in a lot of ways. Do you have that same feeling?
absolutely. Especially like there are certain games that we'll play, and um, we'll be doing improv, and the kid will get a task to be a certain animal doing a certain physical task and they're like, I can't do this. This is too hard. I'm like, hey, I'm 63. If I can do it, you can do it. And of course, I'll do it. You know, but doing improv with 10-year-olds is a great way to keep in shape. Not that I'm in shape, but you know.
So, hey, same here. This is The Barn with Susan Olsen, also known as Cindy Brady. Fan Fusion 2024 autograph show and fan convention at the Doubletree in Collinsville, Illinois, November 22nd through the 24th. Susan, before you get out of here, one of my co-hosts, Anthony, is such a big, he couldn't get off work to be a part of the interview, but him and his dad really bonded over the Brady Bunch. Do you care to give Danny Hedrick a shout out for me real quick?
No, I think it's absolutely beautiful for a father and son to bond over the same TV show. You know, that's the kind of stuff that makes me proud of Brady Bunch. And God bless both of you. And I'd love to see a father and son who are bonded. Yay.
Yeah, that's amazing, right?
Yes.
Susan Olsen, Fan Fusion 2024, November 22nd and 24th. You'll be doing fan meet and greets and autograph signings and all that, you know, convention stuff, right?
Yep.
Come on out and see her throughout the weekend at Fan Fusion 2024. Thanks so much for your time today, Susan. Really enjoyed this chat.
Thank you.